Welcome to this opportunity to celebrate the wonderful life enjoyed by our dear friend, the patriarch of hot rodding and drag racing in Australia, Mr. Eddie Thomas. There wouldn't be many who to this day haven't improved the looks or the performance of their trusty steeds with parts made by this remarkable engineer, usually well ahead of his time. Nor many who haven't enjoyed the company of this congenial and true gentleman, nicknamed Big Daddy. Eddie loved engineering, which he continued till his 98th year, where only failing sight and hearing stopped him from going to Redline and CAD designing every day. But a lot of people didn't know the many facets of life away from his work, so let's have a look at the varying genres of Eddie's remarkable life. Beginning as a gifted engineer at Albert Park Technical School, he was involved in racing motorbikes pre-war at West Hill Scrambles and hill climbs at Rob Roy, setting the fastest time of the day driving his Bella V8. He also raced midgets at Aspendale, Ballarat, Tracy Speedway at Maribyrnong and other tracks around Victoria. When the war came and the army stationed him at Bandiana and Alice Springs. In the workshops he built machines to improve the speed of tanks and also did engine repairs. Leaving the army, he built and raced speed cars, claiming you could earn a good week's wages on prize and attendance money. Next he did conversions for Reg Hunt Holden before manufacturing race components from his home in Clayton, where he made the first disc brakes used in Australia. It was here he formed a lifelong working friendship with Pat Ratliff, who he invited to move in a couple of doors away. And when the Eddie Thomas Speed Shop opened in Caulfield, Pat tended to be the front salesman while Eddie designed and manufactured a product range of over 700 items, from innovative drag parts to bits for every petrolhead's needs. Everyone had a Thomas cam, shifter, twin carb manifold or whatever. By the way, the first cams were shaped with a file until he built an offset bed system. Ed built a supercharged dragster and rewrote record books in the 50s and 60s for the standing quarter mile. That's when he became known as Big Daddy, where he and Pat wore collars and ties when racing to lift the image of the sport. But the look shouldn't have fooled anyone. He was the first to smash the 10-second barrier in Australia, the first to run under 9 seconds, clocking 8.8 seconds at Surfers in 1966, and then broke 150 mile per hour over the quarter mile.
I did put on the dynamometer later on with the Supercharger, and it went over 1,000 horsepower, 1,100 I think, at 6,000 revs, but we weren't going to take it up to 8,000, which we normally ran.
The strange front-mounted supercharger retarded the car's performance somewhat, but the change to the top mount made it really take off. A major setback was the clutch blow-up fire, which burned Eddie's feet, hands and neck, meaning months of skin grafts and rehab in hospital. He had read about a fireproof material in the States and purchased some from 3M, from which he designed and made the first fireproof suit in Oz, and combined with the US face mask he was given and wore for the first time that race, probably saved his life. He sold the speed shop business to Brian Sampson and went to work for Repco on the development of their successful Repco Brabham engine, and then in 1970 started Redline Engineering in Moorabbin. With one lathe he started manufacturing forged pistons for race engines. Redline manufactured stainless fittings, marine shackles, pins, spindles and dwarf taps, as well as various non-standard shapes, prototypes and motor components as well. Another facet to Eddie's life was as a pilot, and he owned a few planes over the time. He was a member of the Melbourne Astrological Society and made his own telescope, of course. He was a pistol shooter of Commonwealth Games level, a member of the Southern Hot Rod Club, and of course in the Photo Society. Eddie must have really missed that last 6 months not going to work while his mind remained sharp. His poor eyesight and hearing meant he could no longer work at his beloved computer. Eddie sadly passed away peacefully on Thursday the 9th of November 2017. What a lovely man, a true gentleman.